I've always believed in delivering value, and as long as the value is high enough, people will listen. If you were given the skills to do public speaking, it's the best thing in the world. You are the presentation. Your PowerPoint is never the presentation. Never get that wrong.
Why in society, why is storytelling, why is that so important?
We repeat our past, we stimulate our future to understand our present. And all of this, exactly all of this, is done from narratives.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator. Today, we speak about speaking with David JP Phillips. David is an international speaker, author, and coach in modern presentation skills. His TED Talks have over 14 million views, including his signature talk, How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. He's got expert advice on storytelling, body language, overcoming anxiety, and captivating an audience of 1 or 1,000. Hi, David, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thanks, Moshe. It is absolutely excellent being in here and talking to you. I love your mission, man.
So I want to, because I know we talked just a minute ago about where you are, and and I mentioned that Finland is number 1, but you were saying that Sweden is number 4, which is where you are right now, as far as happiest places to live on Earth. So what actually goes into that? I'm just curious, like what actually goes into because you seem like a happy person, and what are the actual factors that go into making a happy place for people? Just curious about that.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, yeah, true. I am happy today. My last book was about my depression, which I was actually depressed for like 17 years, broke out of that. So I know I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And at the end of the day, I think it's this. Sweden is a very, very calm place. Like stress is the initiator of depression. And whatever stresses you in life, when that becomes too much, it drives you to sadness and to depression. But we're just calm people. We just, it's easy life. And I think our organism, our cells, enjoy that easy part of life.
I think that I was reading recently that the human body experiences pain and pleasure if they allow things to linger, right? Like you're saying, stresses. It could be a physical element. You can have other emotions. It could be guilt, shame, right? Certain traumas. But the easier you allow the pain, right, instead of just blocking it in your body to pass through you, I mean, you get the upside of that too, which is the pleasure, right? Then the depression can go away. I am curious, 17 years is a long time, and eventually becomes chronic, right? Like this is your loop. This is what it is. What did you do what was your action? You got to create this different action to try to get away from that circle. What did you do in that scenario?
When I realized I was depressed, I was hit by an emotion which I hadn't felt for so long, and it felt so different. I remember I asked my wife what she thought it was, and I remember she smiled at me. She said, "It sounds like happiness." And I had like 5 minutes, and then it went away. And the reason I got those 5 minutes was that I had I started meditating, and so I had meditated like 20 minutes a day for 6 weeks consistently, and that's suddenly these 5 minutes just came by, and that was just the most tremendous feeling that I'd felt for so long. So I carried on meditating, and then I used another technique which is called break the pattern. So every time my brain wanted to go into that loop that you spoke of, Mosh, you just disallow it to do that. You just break the pattern, you do something else, you start singing, you start counting things, you start playing whatever mind games. That one was an important one. And then I'd say There's another concept in psychology called focus questions, primary questions. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a concept where you choose the questions you ask about the surroundings and yourself. And those three things, about 12 months later, I'd hacked my depression.
I tell you what, you talk about meditation. I've been meditating for many years, and I think that to summarize why it's so important, it allows possibility, the way I think about it. It allows your mind, which is your greatest gift, to go to places that are boundless, right? In your mind, and in that, you're doing that, you're doing that, you're doing that. You think it's strange at first, but then you create another world, and in that world, you don't need outside forces. You don't need validation from other places, because that's what happens when we expect from outside of yourself. And then you're able to begin to get gratitude, joy, peace from within yourself. That's kind of the way I like to think about meditation. It's definitely helped me a lot.
That's beautiful. I agree with everything that you said. I think that's absolutely accurate. And I think one more positive effect as well is that you practice, at least if you practice focus meditation, because there's several kinds of meditation, but if you focus or you practice focus meditation, it allows you to train your brain to say no to thoughts that otherwise would just bombard you during the day. So it trains your brain to become more focused. And I'd say that the best tool anyone on this program listening to this can do in order to quite quickly increase their happiness is to write down everything that stresses them. Like I think my list was 65 points when I did it. I call this stress mapping. And then you look at your list and then you divide them into three columns. So you look at this list and you go, this I can remove. So if you got toxic friendships, remove. If you got if you keep following a person on Instagram which makes you feel sad, remove, and so on and so forth. And then you have I can fix, which is the second column, and that is using methods within self-leadership that can allow you to handle the situation you're in, like reframing, changing focus questions, meditating, and so on. And then the last one is I have no idea what to do with these stressors. And that's when you talk to somebody like you, like me, like a psychiatrist or something like that, where you're like, what can I do about these? But the interesting thing is whoever I coach, 98% of all the stressors can either be removed or redefined. And as soon as you remove even just 20% of them, you will feel such a weight being lifted from your shoulders. You will instantaneously feel happier.
Yeah.
It's almost like happiness is the opposite of stress.
I love that you use a method, right? A logic. I do that a lot. Like I think of, everyone thinks in the abstract, like spirituality or meditation. These ideas are in the abstract. The more you can, I guess, using math or systems, the more you can systemize stuff, because maybe your brain works that way and you could see it. I always talk about, a lot of times on the show, a great starting point is when you're lying in bed right before you go to sleep, because your body's relaxed, and you take your pen and paper and you write down whatever's in flow. That's you.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to you. And that if you decide to live in truth, right? Because if you're not living congruent, you're not living aligned, then that's what the non-acceptance or the I guess the non-ability to be unconditionally love yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you're judging yourself, by the way, which in turn ends up this circle effect, judging others, and then not being able to give unconditional love to others, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about those first 3 seconds that you hear a story or you hear something. So what do? You react with your, right? We're talking about speech, right? Speaking. Over 90% of speech is not the words. It's the tone and the body language. And someone sees it, someone subconscious sees it, And you know what happens? They don't talk to you about their private things. You're not necessarily their trusted person anymore. And therefore, you can't get that back either. And so then you're just alone. And we're social beings. And we want to connect.
Yep.
Right? So
Absolutely.
it's interesting. But I want to ask you this. I mean, it's, I guess, listed as one of the top fears, right, in the world. And I've worked on it a lot, but tell me, why do you think public speaking is such a fearful thing? Like, why is it so fearful for people?
It's, I think it's just become a cultural thing, my friend. You know, like, if you have a friend who constantly tells you, "Oh, I hate public speaking," you won't love public speaking. And if you have a family who constantly tells you that public speaking is the worst, that won't help you. And if you have an entire town telling you that the public speaking is the worst, it won't help you. If you have an entire country telling you that public speaking is horrible, they just instill this limiting belief in you that it is horrible because everybody else thinks so. So it is, I think, because I've found people who don't get that belief from their parents, where their parents go like, public speaking is amazing, public speaking is the best, we love public speaking. Their kids, they grow up to believe that. So I genuinely believe that it is simply a cultural behavior where we instill this in others and we create this limiting belief that it is horrible. But if you were given the skills to do proper public speaking, it's the best thing in the world to stand up and to get your voice heard, your ideas heard. Like, hey, if you go to a dinner party, everybody's competing for the word. Everybody around the table, there's 8 people, they're going like, my stories, my stories, my stories, my stories. It's natural to us. We love telling people things. So it's natural for people to enjoy public speaking if they know how to do it, but they don't. They're very rarely taught how to do public speaking.
But when did you first fall in love with public speaking?
Ooh, that's 20 odd years ago. 25, I think. Yeah. Did my first TED talk about 11 years ago. They've become some of the most viewed in the world. And yeah, it's my profession. I travel the world and I do talks. That's what I teach people how to do public speaking from stage, doing public speaking. So it's meta. I love that.
Was it, like you said, was it that you grew up with a belief system that public speaking is easy and it's good? Or I guess you had that? Because some people, it seems that they don't, but maybe you've trained yourself as an adult.
I think it's pretty much up to the parents, actually, because my parents they were teachers, right? And my father was an entertainer, so he walked into any room and he entertained. So it was just natural to me. That was natural human behavior. So to me, the step to doing public speaking was so easy. So it's definitely that the limiting beliefs that are set in us, the frames and the rules in what we should react stressful to, is set by our parents. Yeah. I remember my daughter. She was walking in through the door and there was a spider there. And my wife sees the spider and she screams. And my daughter started screaming when she saw spiders. And in another instance, which also involved my wife, she was on a roller coaster. She was taking my daughter around the roller coaster. And my daughter it was like 2 rounds around the roller coaster. And the first round, that was the first time she went on a roller coaster. My daughter was 7, I think. She was scared witless. You know, her face was just filled with 7 different emotions. And my wife said, you know what? This is fun. Let's laugh. Let's laugh all the way around the next time. And she did. And she taught her that this is fun. Because there are instances like this when we are kids, when our parents teach us how to feel and react to a certain situation. So my parents, they taught me to react positively to public speaking. And then in extension, it just became my passion. I spent my entire life dissecting public speaking. I've never read a book. I've never attended a training of any other teacher in public speaking in order to only create kind of new material. which is why the TED Talks are so different from other TED Talks on the same subject.
I love that when you ignore, it's that dialogue within yourself. I've heard that idea. You ignore the audience. That's probably right. It's like, it's you to you. It's your life story. It's your journey. And there's value, there's emotion, but it has to come from you, right? And you're giving that energy out to the people. So I mean, there's because I've listened to them. I mean, I really enjoyed How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's so people that haven't listened to the speech. What would you say, looking back now, is something that sticks out to you about that? The first time you gave it, or the actual speech?
Well, I had no idea that was going to be the defining moment of my entire career, but it became that very defining moment. So it was, I guess I would have been more nervous if that would have been the case, but I wasn't. I've always believed in delivering value, and as long as the value is high enough, people will listen. And in that TED Talk, I knew the value was sky high because how many people haven't been killed by PowerPoints, you know? And I love the science part of it, how I cognitively describe how to build better PowerPoints. But I think the greatest takeaway from anyone looking at that is one single thing, which is you are the presentation. Your PowerPoint is never the presentation. Never get that wrong. People buy you, your voice, your facial expressions, your eye contact, your words, the way you put those words together. That is what people buy, not your PowerPoint. So don't confuse these two things to be the same.
And I heard that a lot. Who was it recently? Big venture capital fellow, Mark Andreessen. He said, "It's you have another talk called The Magic of Storytelling," and I know Adam Newman from WeWork, Elon Musk, right? This story. Why in society? Why is storytelling? Why is that so important?
It's because we perceive the world from stories. We perceive the world from narratives. So if we're out driving our car, our brain is constantly going, it's playing small narratives into the future. Can I overtake here? Or shall I overtake further on? Or shall I wait a bit more and overtake over there? And shall I stop for a pause here or shall I stop for a pause there? We're constantly creating these small narratives of us doing these things, taking over, going out of the car. And because we perceive the world in the future based on narratives, we also do it in the past. Like, how many times have you, just today, thought about what's happened in the past? Like the last time you had that pod interview, the last time you met that person. We keep dwelling on things or repeating things, positively or negatively, it doesn't matter. But we repeat our past, we stimulate our future to understand our present. And all of this, exactly all of this, is done from narratives. We don't see things in tables and bullets and numbers. That's Excel. Our brain it's a narrative engine. So it's when we use stories and tell people stories that people can tap into that. It's like one-on-one communication. But if we don't tell the story, they have to kind of invent a story based on what you just said, because we perceive everything in stories. So we're narrative machines. So that's why stories are so imperative.
I think also the clarity of the story, because I can see, I remember hearing about this up to the age of 18. We hear the word no, like so many more times than the word yes. So if you have a white canvas and someone's telling you a half story or it's not clear, then your brain will automatically think, okay, that's going to go wrong, that's going to go wrong, that's going to go wrong. So if you can show a beautiful picture of that story, clear, simple, keep it simple, stupid, right? The KISS method, right? Simple. We went, there were 3 pigs, and then there was a wolf, and that's why it's so popular, right? It's a simple story, right? So I think that makes actually a lot of sense. And you have to overcompensate all the wiring of the negative as well.
Hmm.
Let's just say like in investing, or you want to get a lot of audience in your speaking, right? So
Mm.
I guess it's just got to be super clear. And to your point, it's like key value, right? Like you have life experience and you're giving value that the people can really take away
Hmm.
and really focus on. And the book, I know you have a book, High on Life,
Yeah.
which we mentioned before. What would you say? What was your reasoning A for writing the book? And now that the book is finished, what is your kind of key takeaways for you and want your audience to take from the book?
Mm. Well, what I learned about hacking my depression is in that book. So that book and what it contains is the reason I'm still alive today. Now, what I realized was that me hacking my depression, if people who weren't depressed but just sad or down started using the same techniques as I used hacking my depression, their growth was just way faster and way bigger. So it applies to anyone and everyone who's simply stuck in a rut, who are sad, who can't find their own motivation, the drive. The tools work the same. So what I've noticed then is that I was entirely correct because it's now been published in 34 languages, just came out in Mandarin in China. And I'm getting messages from people all over the world saying that, hey, thank you for the book. It either saved or changed my life. Um, it's what's different with it is it's a self-leadership book, similar to the stuff of Tony Robbins, but it explains it from a neuroscientific perspective, which is, I think, the new touch on the subject.
David, what's something you're grateful for?
Yes, being here with you, like I think if you just go around looking for the big things that you're grateful for, then you're losing out. But like every breath, that it's warm in my room, that I'm here with you, having this chat, the opportunity to reach people through you, and so many things that happened today. So yeah, grateful for just so many things. I think the biggest learning of that is a nice technique that I have if someone wants to get into gratefulness practice is simply this, that whenever you wake up in the morning, you spend 1 minute being grateful for whatever happened yesterday. Optionally, just before going to bed, you spend 1 minute, like, what am I grateful for what happened today? Just do that consistently for something like 4 to 8 weeks and notice the difference.
Yeah, it's I'm more and more coming into that. I love what you said there. Grateful for the just existence, just small things. You don't have to look very far, actually. It's within yourself that you're healthy, that you're okay, the people you love are okay, and that's where it should be. Everything else is bonus. It's not. But tell me, what's something that would you say is a common denominator of that you found with great public speakers?
I think the great or greatest ones, truly great ones, they have a very high synchronicity. So synchronicity is like when I did that study of 7,000 speakers over those 5 years, I found that we have 5 layers of communication: facial expressions, voice, words, body language, gestures. And when we say something like "I love you," and we say "love you" with our voice, and we show it in our face, and we show it with our body language, and all those 5 say the same things, then we believe people. But I think people listening to this can relate to as well. When you walk up to somebody in a room and you don't like them, why don't we like them? Well, most commonly, their synchronicity is off. Maybe they'll say, "Hi, it's good to see you," but you can hear that they don't mean it, or you can see that they don't mean it. Whilst at the same time, when you meet people, you sometimes just fall in love with them immediately. I assure you that they have 5 levels of synchronization. The way they say it is the same thing all 5 layers say. And when you see people like that on stage, they truly have the greatest fundamental skill of brilliance in public speaking is when they are highly synchronized. They are no discrepancy, just transparent people.
I find it's not so natural for that synchronicity. You have to have journeyed through a lot of life. I call it like they don't really care anymore about the validation, about things. They're just there. You know who does it? Gary Vee does it pretty good. He just doesn't. He's just kind of. He says what's truth, good or bad, and I love that statement.
Yeah.
This is always the truth in this world. The truth shall set you free. It's the truth. Inside what's outside, and outside is what's inside. All the same. And live that way, and everything will come. Everything that you wish for will come, and it might not be in exactly your time or schedule, but it always seems to come.
Yeah.
Right? That's how. And you just keep going that way, because we react because we weren't completely congruent. So, but I really wanna thank you, David. It's really been insightful. How can people follow you on social, get your book, get your training possibly?
Thanks for asking. Absolutely. It's David JP Phillips on any social media. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. So David JP Phillips, and the book is called Head Game. I think the book is called High on Life, and my online platform for learning stuff is presentermastery.com. So yeah, that's it's me in a nutshell. That is the professional part of me.
Well, thank you, David. You're a good man. Good things.
Thank you, Moshe.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with David. If you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.